Welcome to another video as part of the Pavilion video series. Pavilion, why are we unique and different from the competition? I am Kostas Apopoulos, the Chief Field Technology Officer and Worldwide Vice President of Business Development for Pavilion Data. In this video, I'm going to talk about architecturally, how do we do what we do and what makes us unique relative to the competition. The first thing that makes us unique is fundamentally our architecture. It's unique and different than any other platform out there on the market today. We look more like a network switch than we do a traditional storage array. We're built around an internal PCIe network switch that is 6.1 terabits per second. It allows us to connect to every one of our up to 72 2.5-inch U.2 drives. We have the capability of delivering up to 20 independent storage controllers. They're packaged on what we call line cards. You can see the 5 cards on the picture on the right, 5 cards on the top, 5 cards on the bottom. They equate to the picture on the left, the 5 cards on the left and the 5 cards on the right. Those are called our line cards. And every line card has 2 independent storage controllers, not dual controllers. They're independent. Their own CPU, their own memory, and their own network. And they each run their own independent version of our operating system called the HyperOS. Every one of those line cards has up to 4 100 gig Ethernet ports. We can have up to 40 100 gig Ethernet or InfiniBand ports. We also have a line card that has 200 gig InfiniBand ports. So we're not a dual controller system. We're a multi or many controller system. We don't have 3 or 4 25 gig or 50 gig ports. We have up to 40 100 gig Ethernet ports. We support both Ethernet and InfiniBand, and all that packaged into 4 rack units. And our architecture is fundamentally this any controller to any drive connectivity. We do not have a concept of cache. We don't have a concept of a tier. We use direct memory access to write our data from every controller and read our data from every controller to every one of the drives. So we talk nanosecond speeds to every one of our drives, not a tier, not a cache. We talk remote data memory access protocols to the hosts. So we're talking microsecond, low microsecond latencies out to the hosts. That hardware is leveraged by our software. And Satish, one of our founders, says, our software can take unfair advantage of our hardware. We've also created the ability through our software, if you're leveraging our file system, you can tier files outside of our platform into any spinning disk, NFS or S3 compliant system. So the first piece of our fundamental unique and different is our architecture, delivering unrivaled performance and unrivaled performance density. There are many other things that make us unique, our integrations, our ability to solve unique business problems, but let's focus on foundational technologies that enable our architecture. So in other words, how our software can take unfair advantage of our hardware. The first piece of that is multi-protocol, multi-storage type support. We support block, file, and object all in the same platform. We have class-leading performance and latency for every one of those storage protocols. The key there with our class-leading performance and latency is consistent, predictable, scalable high performance with ultra-low latency enabled by our multi-controller architecture. That hardware is enabled by many, many patents. I'm going to highlight a few, and a few are listed here. You can see all the patents for Pavilion down at the link below, but a few that I think are important and foundational. One is called a non-volatile memory express over Ethernet. It sounds a lot like NVMe-over-fabric. And the reason it does is because that's one of the foundational patents for the protocol NVMe-over-fabric. We are key members of the community that delivered this and developed this, and we've chosen not to enforce that patent to be part of the overall community. But we were early adopters, earlier innovators in that space. The next one I'll point out is a storage array having multiple controllers. Well, there's some uniqueness in there. For example, there's a reason why every drive has 2 ports and most storage array vendors have 2 controllers, and you have one controller talk to one port on a drive and another controller talk to another port. I'm thinking this through. That's how you get HA. Well, how does that work when you have a system that has 20 controllers and every drive has 2 ports? Well, that's called a patent from Pavilion. How do we deliver such ultra low latency in write and very, very high performance in write? While most people's write performance is maybe 10% of their read, ours is like 70% of our read performance. We have a patent on what's called a low latency metadata log. It enables all of our 20 controllers to have access to all the metadata real time across all those controllers. One of our key patents. One of our other key patents is our data protection patent. It's distributed rebuild of a failed storage device. One of the benefits of a multi-controller architecture is not just for hosts to be able to have better latency and more throughput, it's also for our system to do things faster. For example, when we need to rebuild a drive after a failure, keep in mind we now have 30 terabyte drives. We have a patent that we can rebuild a drive 1 terabyte in 5 minutes. That's called a patent that we have, leveraging a technology we called Swarm, that when a drive fails, we can call on a whole bunch of controllers to work together to rebuild that drive. Just a few of the real key patents, many, many more that allow us to take unfair advantage of our hardware. The next area that makes Pavilion unique and different from the competition is our ability to scale. I'm going to talk here how we can scale out inside the box. Later, I will show how we can scale out outside the box. And all this scaling is linear scaling. In other words, as we scale and add compute, we add linearly the same performance. And we can scale inside our box performance and capacity independent of each other. We'll call this a flexible scale-in-place platform that can grow as your business grows. I mentioned you can have 72 NVMe drives and 20 controllers. Well, you don't have to start with that. You can start with something as small as a bank of 18 drives and 2 of our line cards, which have 2 controllers each, so 4 controllers. And maybe those are all running block for now. Then you make a decision that I need more performance and maybe I want to run file. But I want to leverage that same storage that I have today. You can do that. You may then add capacity, but you have enough performance. You may add more performance because you have capacity. And you can see how you can scale performance and capacity independent of each other and grow that all seamlessly, non-disruptive inside the box, delivering linear scalability. Remember, I talked about not just high performance, but consistent, predictable, high performance with low latency for block, file, and or object. Another key advantage and unique differentiator for Pavilion. I showed you that we can scale out inside the box. Now I'm going to show you we can scale out outside the box. All, again, linear scaling. As I showed you, we can have a single Pavilion system, maybe running all file, maybe running all block, maybe running all object, or some combination. We also have the ability to scale those platforms out. You can take our global namespace that may be running on one box today, scale it to a second, a third, a fourth, a fifth, and it adds linear scalability every time you add Pavilion storage arrays. Whether that's file, whether that's block, whether they're running independently on systems themselves or running file and block on the same platforms. So another unique advantage, not just scale out inside the box, scale out outside the box. Again, the flexibility and uniqueness of Pavilion. While I've shared several of the uniqueness and differentiators Pavilion has, and just a few of those things, but in fact, what do all those things do? They help us deliver results. And the result for Pavilion is the most flexible, high-performance storage platform on the planet. We like to look at it in 3 dimensions: density, multiple storage type and protocols, and best in every class performance. Not best in class, best in every class. Let's start with density. In those 4 rack units, we can deliver up to 2.2 petabytes raw, 20 million IOPS, 120 gigabytes a second read, 90 gigabytes a second write, 20 controllers, 40 100 gig Ethernet or InfiniBand ports, all at a power profile of under 3,200 watts. Basically, we've never seen a system go over 2,900 watts. The column to the right shows you if you take that by rack unit compared to the competition and normalize things, we're over a half a petabyte of capacity in one rack unit and 5 million IOPS, 30 gigabytes a second read. Impressive performance any way you measure it in an incredibly dense package. Second dimension, multiple storage types, block, file, and object. Multiple protocol, host protocol types from many block storage protocols that really focus on NVMe-over-fabric technologies that enable massive scale and low latencies, to file protocols from NFS v3 to v4 to SMB to our NVMe NFS RDMA to our own PHFS client, as well as object protocols like S3. And again, best in every class performance, block, file, and object. As I mentioned to the left, block, 120 gigabytes a second read, 20 million IOPS at 100 microsecond latency. Write, 90 gigabytes a second write, and 5 million IOPS at 25 microsecond latency. Not just impressive read, but impressive write. Same thing in file, 78 gigabytes a second read, 56 gigabytes a second write. In objects, not slow object, fast object, 52 gigabytes a second read, 30 gigabytes a second write. So not just high performance, but performance density, but not just performance density, flexible performance density, all this at not a premium, at market competitive pricing. Pavilion, the unique advantage, whether that's performance, whether that's scale, whether that's density, a unique and different platform out in the market today. Thank you for watching this video as part of the Pavilion video series. If you want to learn more about this topic or others, check out our other videos at www.pavilion.io. You can also reach out to us via email at info@pavilion.io, or you can always call us on the phone. We'd love to talk to you about how Pavilion can help you solve some of your most challenging storage-related problems and help you deliver incredible business outcomes to your customers. Thank you.